world shall rock to and fro. The white man will battle against other people in other lands with those who possess the first light of wisdom. There will be many columns of smoke, and fire will cause disease and a great dying.
Some interpreters of the Hopi prophecy say the white man could refer to Western nations, and that those who possess the first light of wisdom may refer to the world's earliest civilization in Mesopotamia, now the site of Iraq. But there was more to the Hopi prophecy.
You will hear of the sea turning black, and many living things dying because of it.
They also predicted that there would be an astronomical event.
You will hear of a dwelling place in the heavens that shall fall with a great crash. It will appear as a blue star.
Now, we don't know exactly what year they were referring to. They were not that specific, but they did also say that at this time of chaos, what would follow would be the return of the Great White Brother, union, harmony, similar to the New Testament Revelation where, hell would be followed by heaven.
Both the Hopi prophecy and the Bible suggest that man's demise will be triggered by God's effort to purge the world of evil. For many, the similarities between the prophecies of Islam, the Hopi, and Christianity are more than coincidence. Some believe they are evidence that one supernatural figure of evil exists to lead the world toward a final cataclysm. A cataclysm that may take place here, in the very heart of the Holy Land. Ancient texts suggest that Satan will lead an army of evil against Jesus and God's forces on earth, and that this battle will lay waste to the world. If so, that final battle, according to biblical prophecy, may take place here, Jerusalem, Israel. For millions, it is the world's holiest city. Here, three great religions have converged: Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. According to one biblical prophet, Ezekiel, Jerusalem is where a great destruction will take place. His prophecy, dated around 586 BC, is recorded in the Old Testament.
I will bring them out from the nations and gather them from the countries, and I will bring them into their own land.
God said throughout the Old Testament that in the last days, I will draw my people from the four corners of the earth back to the land of their forefathers, Palestine.
This roughly 40-mile wide stretch of land between the Mediterranean Sea and the River Jordan has been besieged by violence and war since the dawn of man. The United Nations established land for a state of Israel here in 1947, and the Jewish people who populate this tiny nation have struggled to survive ever since.
The Bible says that God set Jerusalem at the center of the nations and placed the rest of the nations around her. I describe Israel as the epicenter of the world, Jerusalem as the epicenter of Israel, and the Temple Mount as the epicenter of Jerusalem.
Those who accept Ezekiel's prophecy that Israel marks the site of our ultimate doom also look to another Old Testament prophet, Zechariah. In 518 BC, he recorded his prediction that Israel would regain the city of Jerusalem.
On that day, the Lord will shield those who live in Jerusalem, so that the feeblest among them will be like David, and the house of David will be like God.
Israel captured East Jerusalem in 1967 in what has come to be known as the Six-Day War. Some believe this pivotal event precipitates the beginning of the end, one step closer to Satan's reign on earth. A third biblical prophecy offers yet another sign of the end times. It is from the book of Daniel, written over 2,000 years ago.
In the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed.
Some Bible scholars interpret this to mean Christ would return during the time of the Roman Empire to defeat Satan. But that vast empire collapsed over 1,500 years ago. However, some say that Daniel's prophecy refers to our own time and the modern descendants of ancient Rome. They point out that in 1993, nations and kingdoms that were once part of the Roman Empire reassembled into the European Union. The EU now consists of 27 member states across the European continent.
European Union and other nations around the world are trying to pressure Israel to give up more and more land to the Palestinians, there, particularly in the West Bank.
Do believers see this pressure by the European Union on Israel leading to Satan's battle at Armageddon, or is it merely coincidence? According to the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus told his disciples of several more signs of end times.
For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom.
Christ said you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Think of the world today. There's rumors of wars with Iran. There's Afghanistan and Iraq. There's rumors of wars almost every day with North Korea.
And we're at that place in history where there's a nuclear proliferation. No one really seems to have a good idea of how to manage this.
Believers in Satan prophecy point to the Old Testament prophet Ezekiel, who wrote that in the end days, a great military power will threaten Israel from the north.
You will come from your place in the far north, you and many nations with you, a mighty army. You will come up against my people Israel, like a cloud to cover the land.
Some believe there is a direct link between Ezekiel's prophecy and Russia.
Just because Russia has, in fact, started to form a very dramatic military and political and economic alliance with Iran, just because Israel has been reborn as a country, Jews have poured back into the Holy Land, just because a leader of Iran is saying we will wipe Israel off the map, doesn't necessarily mean that these dramatic, apocalyptic Bible prophecies come true in our lifetime. On the other hand, the question is, can you really rule out that possibility, given what is happening in our world today?
Others argue that looking for connections between prophecy and world politics is a dangerous tendency.
The problem with this tendency to identify the enemies that we feel we have at a particular moment and to identify them with the Bible is that now you have a sort of religious endorsement for your anger, for your political or social anger. And that can be a very dangerous tendency.
Some Christians suggest Satan's presence in the end times may also be seen in the most controversial book of the New Testament, Revelation. Written by John of Patmos before 70 A.D., this apocalyptic vision predicts that a nation to the east of Israel will amass an enormous army.
And the 4 angels were released to kill 1/3 of mankind. The number of the mounted troops was 200 million.
What it says in the book of Revelation is that the river Euphrates will be dried up to make way for the kings of the east.
Assuming he exists, how will Satan gain such power? There are those today who worship Satan openly. But are these modern pagans really soldiers in Satan's army, leading us to annihilation? Satan, the malevolent figure Christians accept as the ultimate force of evil. Biblical texts predict he will lead the world to a violent and destructive end. To some, today's unrest is proof that the prophecies contained within these texts are being fulfilled.
He is the father of deception, And so he's behind drawing people to those things